I keep finding myself drawn back to Skye, taking on these Cuillins. The ridges are just so fantastic to photograph, and it's a bit of a bonus that most of them don't take too long to actually get done. So I made a mistake straight off the bat on this hike, and that is the trousers. The forecast was for about 14 or 15 degrees, and when I left the car it was showing about 24, so the sweat was pouring at me straight from the word go. I'm heading up Bruach for this trip. The good solid path leads you most of the way, which follows this river, which has quite a lot of waterfalls along it. So there's plenty of wee pools of water for you to dip your feet, which Nick's took full advantage of. Due to the conditions, I wasn't really spending too much time on these. The sky was just so bright with the sun. It was more just a wee play about just to see what we got. Just using the wide angle lens here just to emphasise the stone. This is not a good photo, but I just absolutely loved the heather that was fully submerged. Unfortunately, it's on the wrong side, so you can't capture that waterfall in the background, otherwise that would be a fantastic foreground image. So we carried on up the hill. The beginning of the hike is a really nice, pleasant, low gradient. It doesn't take too much effort, especially with the good solid path. As I said, there's loads of waterfalls. This one in particular, I think, would have been stunning with the Cuillins in the background, but it was just a bit too much of a detour, and I knew that I was going to be cutting it very close for sunset, so I'll earmark that for another day. I thought to pack off my back just for a wee break and to come down and shoot this. I spotted it, it was only just off the route as well, so it wasn't going to take too much extra time. Just trying to get the angle of the waterfall just to lead up towards the Cuillins in the background. There's definitely a lot more options here. I'd have quite liked to have gotten the ND filter out and just smoothed out that water. But as I said, time was very much of the essence, so I'd kind of set myself some rules with how long I was going to stop. This is why nothing that has to stay dry goes into Nixie's pack, because if there's any water about, she will have a little lie down in it. She loves dipping her belly in the water. I was crossing this river anyway on the route. It carries on along and up towards the ridge, so I thought I'll just grab a quick few shots. They all have the same composition in mind, just using the water as a leading line, taking you up towards the mountains in the background, and just changing what sort of rocks you've got in the foreground element of it. There's so much choice, as I said, with all the waterfalls that are along here. It's very much shooting fish in a barrel. The heat was definitely starting to take a bit of an effect on both of us, I would say. Just that extra bit of fatigue that kicks in. As much as I didn't have much further to go, maybe about a K or just under, it was clear I wasn't going to make it to the summit of the ridge for sunset, so we just had a wee break and decided to just enjoy the moment. Next decided she was going to have a wee seat and a pose, so who am I to deny her of a wee photo shoot? We arrived in the plateau just as the sun was disappearing behind the clouds. And you can see Nix was way ahead, unpacked her bag and had dinner before I even arrived. Just in the background on the right, that's Skye Bruach, where we will go for the sunrise photos tomorrow. Once camp was set up, it was time for dinner for me and an extra wee snack for Nix. We're just waiting for the sun to completely disappear and night time to officially set in for those stars to really shine as bright as possible. I didn't have time to do any sort of scoping out of the surrounding area, unfortunately, so I was going to just head up the ridge. I had a couple of little blisters forming just in the back of my heels, so always take these wee blister plasters. They are worth their weight in gold if you end up with any rubbing. So with darkness in full swing, we headed up just to a high point on the ridge, which you'll get to see in the daytime later on. The clouds, thankfully, were staying further away, just in the horizon, and the Milky Way was still visible. I can't really show you much filming wise, so pretty much I ended up with a 24 shot panoramic, which just caught the Milky Way, a tiny bit of the aurora which was going off, and a nice wee cloud inversion in the distance as well. So this is what it looks like all pieced together, and I am bloody happy about it, I'll say that. That whole thing took probably the best part of an hour and a half, 2 hours, getting up, taking the photos, messing about, coming back down. So it was quite tiring. As much as I've always got a head torch, I like having a proper high-powered torch just for your pathfinding. If you're going up any of these difficult areas, the head torch doesn't quite cut it on its own. So we had another little snack, and then it was time to turn in for the night. I got practically no sleep that night. I managed to drift off about 20 minutes before my alarm went off for sunrise, and was close to not bothering my arse getting out of the bag. But as soon as the bivy bag's not that comfy, I thought I may as well get out and about. Well, fuck me, I think we can all agree it was worth getting out of bed that morning. I couldn't believe when that sun started lighting up the clouds. The way it was sitting on the horizon, I thought there wasn't going to be much of a show, but it was absolutely stunning. The cloud inversion in the distance had hung about from the night before, and I was loving it. With the grand vista in front of me, a panoramic shot was needed. The rocks in the foreground just give a wee bit of interest, but obviously it's just all about that background. The hills, the sunrise, the clouds, just fantastic. I took another couple of shots just focusing in on the sun coming up over what looks like islands and just the sea of clouds. One of my favourite sort of atmospheric shots that you always get at this time in the morning is when the hills are just layering up with different shades just due to the low sun and the clouds in the sky. It's just a nice, simple, really impactful photo. I always really enjoy that style. So with the sun now fully risen, we decided to call it a day. I had one last ascent to do, and that was to get back up to where we were last night, which is just at this peak here. I had left a camera doing a time lapse, which you won't get to see because it turned out absolute trash, but not everything's a winner, eh? So you might realise I actually didn't hit the peak of Bruach na Firth, just due to the fact I didn't come along the ridgeway due to how tight my time was at the start. It doesn't bother me too much. I don't do these to tick off Monroes. I don't keep track of what I'm doing, what I've completed and not. It's just about getting a nice wee overnight camp and getting some nice photos for me. Maybe I'll come back another day and do that ridge because it still does look like a beautiful one to do. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I certainly enjoyed making it. The views I got through this trip were absolutely stunning. Liking the video, if you're enjoying the channel, please subscribe. Any comments also help just boost the visibility of this video. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you'll come back next time.